Hey guys, it's Bobi, aka Paginator, and today we're going to be doing a few book reviews. I have this gorgeous notebook here. This is my book review bullet journal, and I was writing in it really faithfully, creating spreads and different things. Here's like a random one that I open up to, and reviewing books. And then round about, when was it? September of 2024, I kind of just stopped. I'm not exactly sure why. I think I just maybe got out of the habit. But recently I read a book and I thought I really wanted to write down some thoughts about this one. Let's jump back into the bullet journal. And since then I have reviewed 4 books in here. So I'm going to take you through each of these 4. I will be popping up the cover on the screen here while I'm talking about each book, and I will show you the spread that I did in the bullet journal. I won't hold it up long enough for you to read my thoughts because, again, it is my journal. I don't want to necessarily force my thoughts on other people. But if you really, really want to know every word that I read and you can read my handwriting, you can pause the video when I hold it up. Anyway, we're going to start with the book that got me back into doing this, which is Sink by Ellen Hopkins. Here's a look at the spread that I did. So I always put like the title, and I do a star review thing. I had some stickers and washi tape, book cover, and then my compile rating. So this one was a 5-star read for me, and that's not to say that I loved every second of it. And I'll explain why. Ellen Hopkins writes novels written in free verse poetry, and they deal with very difficult issues. They are technically young adult, but they, some of them get into issues that even might be kind of a lot for some teenagers to deal with. In this particular one, we follow Storm and Lake. They are twins. Storm is the girl and Lake is the boy, and they are 17. Nope, I said that backwards. Storm is the boy and Lake is the girl. Sorry, totally messed that up. But they are 17 and they're in the foster care system. And if you know anything about the foster care system or even have just heard things, you probably know it's not the best place for kids to be. Some foster parents are absolutely wonderful and some are absolute garbage, and there's some in between. I can say this from firsthand knowledge because I used to work not for the foster care system, but in conjunction with them. Before I became a teacher, I was a mentor for the Department of Youth and Custody for our school district where I lived at the time. And my job was to help the students with their homework, schoolwork kind of things. And I would also serve as a person to communicate between the school and the caseworkers through DCFS and that kind of stuff. So I know a little bit about some of the inner workings, and I got to be in quite a few foster homes, and like I said, some were great, some not so great. Anyway, back to Storm and Lake. So Storm, the brother, he has been with this foster dad for a while, and he's got a girlfriend, and the girlfriend is, how do we say this that's YouTube friendly? She experiences SA, we'll say that, by another guy, and Storm, in an effort to take retribution, goes and beats up the guy that did this to his girlfriend, and he ends up back into the juvenile justice system where he has been before. And then we have Lake, who is in a different foster home, and she has fallen in love with her foster sister. And the 2 girls get caught in a compromising position, and the mom freaks out because she's super religious and oh, 2 girls kissing. Oh no, the devil. Let's scream and call the police or whatever. And so the 2 girls run away together, and they get caught up in some pretty terrible stuff, including sex work, drug dealing, homelessness, all that kind of stuff. So these 2 17-year-olds that were following this brother and sister in alternating chapters, they're going through some pretty terrible things. And there were some points in the book where I was like, oh my gosh, both of these kids are going to end up dead before the book is over. Now, I don't want to spoil anything, but I am going to tell you they don't die. okay? I think that's important for you to know. But I don't want to tell you much more than that because I want you to discover for yourselves the journey that they take. And yeah, I can't say anything else because I'll ruin something. The next book I'm going to tell you about is Don't Let the Forest In. This is a look at the spread. So here's the cover. The author is C.G. Drews, and this is another one that was quite dark and atmospheric. I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars, and the atmosphere and writing were my strongest scoring categories on my Cop-Pile rating. This is about Andrew and Thomas, two boys who are desperately, obsessively in love with each other. Andrew is a writer and he writes these creepy, dark fairy tales, and Thomas draws some of the creatures from them. But what Andrew doesn't know till quite a while into the book is that the reason why Thomas has been showing up to school so exhausted and everything lately is because at night he's in the forest battling these monsters come to life that come from his drawings and Andrew's stories. And so we have this complication, and Thomas is also being looked at by the police because his abusive parents have suddenly disappeared. And the police are like, okay, do you have something to do with the disappearance of your parents? Kind of thing. And meanwhile, these boys are like really falling into this very emotional, hard-hitting, obsessive, like first love situation. And there's like, one of them has a sibling that's involved with their like whole friend circle dynamic, and there's all these monsters in the forest and there's craziness going on. And when I tell you that the ending shook me, I am not kidding. Multiple plot twists at the end, like multiple plot twists. And some of the scenes still kind of just linger in my mind sometimes. So if you're looking for like a creepy, dark, atmospheric book that will just kind of stick with you, definitely should try this one. Up next, you're going to see a spread that's full of rainbow stickers. And the book I read for this is Pumpkin by Julie Murphy. I listened to the audiobook actually, and this is about Waylon who, actually let me back up and say, if you've read Dumplin' or seen the movie Dumplin', Willowdean from that book and movie show up in this book, as well as Bo. This is, I think, the third book in this series that Julie Murphy has written, and I don't think I read the second one, but that's okay. But again, this is about Waylon. He is an openly gay teen in a small town in Texas, and he is also a larger boy. He calls himself Fat, and he is nearing graduation. He has a twin sister, Clem, and she is also gay. They kind of came out at the same time, which was interesting. And she's been dating this girl named Hannah. And Waylon, our main character, as kind of like a joke or a prank, gets nominated as prom queen. Like, he hasn't won it yet, but he's one of the nominees, right? And Hannah, his sister's girlfriend, is on the list for prom king. And they both decide, you know what? To heck with these homophobic pranksters, whatever the heck they think they're doing, we're going to go for it. And in this school, you have to do some things in order to be eligible to be voted for prom king and queen. You have to do some service for the staff at the school, some community service, and there are several other tasks, and you have to get partnered up. So one queen nominee will get partnered up with a king nominee, and so you think that Waylon and Hannah are going to get partnered together. Oh, no. Waylon is going to get paired up with his nemesis, Tucker, the boy who ditched out of their group project. And when they got put together in class, got up and told the teacher he couldn't sit by Waylon. And like, oh my gosh, Waylon does not want to deal with this boy, but they have to work together on their service projects and things for this prom court. Meanwhile, Waylon is really interested in drag. He loves watching the drag shows, and even kind of as a joke late one night put on some makeup and stuff and made a little audition video, and somehow it got leaked out. And he goes to a gay bar near his town, I think, or in the next town over or something, and meets some drag queens, one of which is the one that helped Willowdean in Dumplin'. And thinks about trying drag for the first time maybe. And while all this is going on, he's still wrestling with this uncertainty about college because he always imagined he and his sister going to the same college together, but he finds out that she's made other plans. Overall, I gave this one a 4-star out of 5, and I quite enjoyed it. The last book I'm going to tell you about is You Shouldn't Have Come Here. Here is the spread. And this is by Geneva Rose. I also listened to this one on audiobook. I've been doing an ABC challenge, and I have a poster in my classroom. And one of my kids said, you know, Miss Page, you haven't filled in any of those letters recently. So I said, okay, over spring break, I'm going to try to get at least one of those letters filled in. So I was just kind of browsing through Libby looking for an audiobook that started with Y. And I saw this one, and it was listed as a thriller. This is about Grace, who goes to stay at an Airbnb on a ranch in Dubois, Wyoming. Now, the audiobook narrator kept calling it Dubois. I live in Wyoming. I know how we say our towns. It is called Dubois. Maybe the correct pronunciation is Dubois, but that's not how we say things here. Anyway, so Grace is going to stay on this ranch, and it is run by this guy called Calvin. And immediately Grace notices, oh, he's really hot cowboy that I get to stay at his home and like whatever. I think she's staying for a week. And immediately she starts having some things going wrong. Her car breaks down, and Calvin takes her for a horse ride, and she gets bucked off and gets like concussed, and different things are happening. And meanwhile, the cops have showed up at the ranch asking about a missing girl. She was supposed to have been staying at the ranch, but Calvin says, oh, she no-showed. She never made it here. She didn't check in, so I marked her on the website as a no-show. I can't help you. But it's sounding a little bit suspicious, especially when Calvin starts to get really obsessive about Grace. Now, the idea of like a thriller where a woman comes to a new place and like a guy there like falls for her and like obsesses over her, it was really intriguing to me. The execution of this, though, I hate to use the word sucky, but if the shoe fits, I don't know. There were a lot of things with the writing that were just not good. The author tried to force feed all these metaphors and analogies, and like it was somebody on Goodreads wrote in their review, it was like they got an assignment from an English teacher to shove as many figurative language pieces into their book as they could and then explain them to the reader as if they didn't understand what symbolism was. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. There was just a lot that was just like, okay, we get it. You're trying to be deep and use symbolism here and then tell us what it means. But it didn't work. And then Grace, like, I don't know. There was no character development of her really at all. Like, there was some development of the relationship between her and Calvin, but all we really learned about her is that she brought some books with her because she likes to read, and she's from New York. Okay. Why does Calvin fall so hard for her so quickly, and why does she allow it? Like, the first time they hang out, like, she's challenging him to a bet and the loser has to go skinny dipping, and she's being all like flirty and stuff, and I'm like, whoa, what? Why? I mean, maybe some people act like this when they're off on some wild vacation somewhere, but no. Yeah, so I mean, again, maybe that's just my personal taste, and like, I think that there should be some motivation behind why characters act the way that they do. And even when we get to the plot twist, because you know all books like this have to have a plot twist, there's no explanation, no motivation. It's just, oh, all of a sudden here's a plot twist. Let me not explain it for you. And in fact, let me state in the book that you're just not going to get to know the reason why. And then let me add a line in at the very end of the book that's going to creep the crap out of you. And I can't explain what I mean by that, because then I would be spoiling the plot twist at the end. And even though you can tell already that I did not care for this book, some of you out there might want to read it or listen to it anyway. Other thoughts I had about this, like, okay, if you're going to put a book on a ranch, then maybe you should do a little bit of research about some ranching things. Yeah, there were several things to do with the horses and different things that just did not make any sense. There were a lot of things that were hinted at and never once explained. Some to do with Calvin, some to do with the ranch itself, some to do with other characters. Calvin had like an ex-fling girl that was always showing up, being hateful for who knows what reason. There was a lady that was kind of a mother figure in his life that had some issues going on, and nothing ever was explained about that. I don't know. It was just a whole lot of bleh. And I honestly feel like the ending of the book was so badly done that I feel like the author was like, crap, I've got a deadline coming up. Let me just come up with some easy slop, boom, 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 done, send it to my editor. Like, really, that's how badly done the ending was. And I hate to, like, put those negative thoughts out there, but I do feel like I need to be honest with my thoughts and opinions, and that's, like, I don't know. I ended up rating it too high. My Goodreads rating that I logged was 3 stars, and I feel like even that's too much because I'm giving too much credit. I think it should have been lower, like a 2 or maybe even 1.5. So I will probably go back into Goodreads and change the star rating on that because it's, yeah, it was great, promising idea, but very poorly executed. So I don't want to end on a sour note, but that is the last book that I have written about in my book review bullet journal. I will have another one coming up soon because I'm reading Onyx Storm right now and really enjoying it. I've heard some people didn't care for it so much, but I really like it a lot. I also am going to be reading the new Hunger Games book. It's actually going to be arriving at my house tomorrow. Actually, the day that this video comes out will be tomorrow for me now. We will have our April TBR coming out soon as well. And I've got lots of junk journaling plans. I'm finishing up my spring into summer journal to send off to Janie soon. So we'll get to do that. And so we have a lot of fun things coming up. Hit the subscribe button and the bell so you can be notified of what's going on. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe, and it would help me out a lot. Or click the like button if you're already subscribed, or hit me up with a comment below. And if you're not sure what to say in your comment, maybe drop like a book emoji or something, or a thumbs up, or a smiley face. I hope you have a wonderful, magical, and bookish day. Happy reading. Adios.